Hi and welcome to part 2. So we are now going to add in the texture onto our swirls and then we're going to paint them. So you will now need a cocktail stick or something just with a sharp edge. You can also use a toothbrush. The only thing with a toothbrush I would say is as you press it into your clay does puff up and it does shrink slightly. So you might think that the texture looks great, and then when it dries, it's obviously puffed up and you've hardly got any texture in. So if you are using a toothbrush, I would make sure that you put quite a lot of pressure on. But the easiest way is a cocktail stick. So I'm going to go in and then I'm going to pull this up, creating some texture. Then just dot any extra bits all the way around. So you'll need to repeat this process on both of your swirls, going all the way around the edge and just a little bit inside here, just sort of like pulling it up. Be quite rough with it. Like I say, it will swell. And we're just creating the cream effect. So you should now gone all around the edges, just pulling up the cream filling. So now we're going to paint these. So we're going to stick to the same paint that we created with our base. So I'm just going to add a bit of burnt amber and a bit of the chocolate brown onto some cardboard and just give it a mix. So I want a couple of drops of this one and the chocolate brown. Then with the thin brush, the thinner the better, because obviously we're going to paint along the side of this little swirl. Don't worry so much if you get it on the cream as well. Again, it just adds to the realism. Just mix these two colours together. So if you have gone for pink, whatever base you have started with on the part 1, just use the same colour. So all my paint is now mixed in. So I'm just going to start now dragging this paint all the way along the edge. So you don't have to dry brush this because obviously we are creating a solid colour on this. You're going to work all the way around the circle. I'll just show you a little bit and then I'll pause the video. So we're just darkening up the base colour that we created. So I'm just going to do this with both swirls and then I'll be back. So I've now coloured both swirls with the chocolate brown. I've sort of like added a little bit into the cream as well. So we need to let these dry and then we're going to add them to our base. My paint is now dry, so now we need to revert back to part 1 where we built the actual casing for this. We are now going to add our swirls inside our little cardboard tube. So just to get the shape, what you're going to do is take your tube, rest it on top of your swirl that you made, make a bit of an indent, just so you know where to cut with your scissors. Scissors are the easiest thing to use with this clay. We're just going to start trimming around the edge. If you've got any rough edges like this, just pop them back in. Then you're going to flip this over, do exactly the same on this side, and then cut them out. So I have cut my 2 circles by flipping it each end. So now we're going to need to get some tacky glue. This is the one I am using. Now I'm just going to run a brush just on the inside of here. You cannot use a glue gun because your clay will not stick to the glue. So we're going to run inside of here. And then with our circle, I'm going to keep this loop down at the bottom to the bottom of this part here. And you're just going to pop this inside, pushing it all the way in. Don't push it too far because obviously you don't want your cream You know, I want the cream sort of like spilling out like this. Then you're going to flip it over and do the same on the other side. So I've popped both swirls in. You might need just to use the palm of your hand. Like I say, don't go too far in, just to make sure that it is adhered to the tacky glue. And then any edges like this, just get your cocktail stick and you're just going to start dragging out your clay just to match along these edges here. If you've got quite a bit of an overspill, don't worry, you can just get your scissors. Let me just show you on this part. Just lift it up slightly and then just give it a bit of a trim. So I'm just going to blend all these edges in, like I said, with a cocktail stick. Working all the way around the circle. Then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I have now added and blended in both ends. So now we need to varnish everything, make everything shiny. This is the varnish that I am using. However, you can use a clear nail varnish or shiny Mod Podge. So just going in with a brush, I'm just going to coat all of the inside of here, and I'm going to go all the way along the top. So I've given it a coat of clear varnish. So while the varnish is still drying, I'm just going to take some all-purpose flour. You might be wondering how this sets over time. It is absolutely fine. I've used flour on quite a lot of my bakes over the years, and it doesn't disturb any of the setting, go mouldy or anything like that. So with the all-purpose flour, I'm just going to start sprinkle this over the top. Obviously while the varnish is still wet, because that will stick to it. Then you need to blow off any excess and just let that stick to the varnish. Once you have sprinkled on the flour, obviously if you have blown off the excess and you've still got a few gaps in it, just brush it over with your finger and just blend all the flour into the varnish while it's still tacky. So the last part we need to do is add some cherries. So I'm going to be using these berries. These come on a stalk from the range last year and I've just popped them off. However, you can roll your own little cherries or whatever you want to put on the top, and then just sprinkle these into some sort of like fake snow if you want the same effect. I'm also going to use a little tiny berry as well. Just before I add the berries, I'm going to use one of these little eye hooks so I can add this to my Christmas tree. As this is cardboard, just get yourself some scissors and just make a hole in the centre if you are adding this obviously onto your tree. And then what you need to do is just tacky glue this hook in the inside of the hole that you've just created. Then with my glue gun, because obviously it's going to stick to this because obviously the base is cardboard and not clay, I'm just going to place my berries just in front of my hook. So I've added my decorations, a couple of berries, keeping away from the hook because obviously I'm going to thread a ribbon through this. I've also added a small little ribbon just to match my Christmas tree. And then just to finish it off, we're going to use the tacky glue and some iridescent glitter. And I'm just going to pop this just along the edge, give it a bit of a sprinkle, and then I will show you the finished result. And this is the finished result. Obviously the glue still looks a little bit white, that needs to dry. I really hope you enjoyed the tutorial and obviously give it a go. Goodbye everybody.